Hello, it is February 13th, 2017, and I have to do this other update because we got more stuff going on, and there was something I neglected to mention in the other update, too. And I've come up with an alternative plan for the service cuts that NICE is proposing. But the first thing that we have to talk about is the weather, the extreme weather that we've had today. The New England got hit with a huge snowstorm. Luckily, it missed us, but we are getting some really intense winds, and some of the winds have gusted near hurricane force. So let's take a look and see what the winds have reached here on Long Island. Okay, I just want to go over some of these wind gusts with you here very briefly. This is from the Weather Service website, and you can see Sands Point gusted up to 72, West Point, East Point Lookout gusted to 64, and Suffolk County also had numerous gusts in the 60s and the 50s. Calverton, Farmingdale Airport had a gust up to 58, and very notable, very high wind speeds here. Almost like a dry tropical storm. That's what this was. So as you can see, the winds have reached near hurricane force. I mean, gusts in the 60s, 70s, at least 50s. And there have been a lot of power outages as a result, thousands of power outages, and major problems on the Long Island Railroad as a result. Widespread delays. We had signal problems on the Ronkonkoma branch, causing major delays because there was a power outage to the signal system on the Ronkonkoma branch. There is a service suspension on the Babylon branch, and this has been going on through the whole late afternoon, right in the evening. And it says, according to this, a limited service is operating between Seaford and points west between Amityville and Babylon on the Babylon branch. Service remains suspended in both directions between Seaford and Amityville due to a fallen PSEG utility pole at Massapequa Park. And there's been cancellations. The trains are very overcrowded on the Babylon branch right now. The Babylon branch is having a very, very bad evening. This is a similar spot actually that happened when Sandy hit, that the poles actually got knocked down. Now let's see what they say for the Port Jefferson branch. One train was canceled, and they've got various delays, power outage, which is affecting the signal system on the Port Jefferson branch, and the Ronkonkoma branch. 758 from Ronkonkoma to Penn is operating 11 minutes late. I know there was a suspension of westbound service for a while this evening as well. It is a huge mess on the railroad tonight. A huge mess. Widespread delays due to signal problems. Babylon branch, is still suspended because of this PSEG pole that's just hanging like this. These are wooden poles. I don't know why these high tension poles. A lot of them on the Babylon branch are metal, but some of them are wooden, and I don't know why they're wooden. They shouldn't be wooden. They should all be metal. I'm not sure if the pole carries I think it carries the power for the railroad. I'm not sure if any PSEG customers are affected by that power line being down. But there's they do have shuttle buses. Well, I don't know if they've got shuttle buses or not. But this pole is, a huge mess. That's why you see me sitting down. Between that and I'm still sick, if you can hear me. I'm still sick. So I don't know if they have shuttle buses for Massapequa Park or not, but it's a huge mess on the railroad tonight. And I want to get to this other thing too here. Let's see what else is going on, because the railroad is really having problems tonight. Yeah, really bad problems. This pole is ridiculous. So there have been delays, widespread delays. Trains have been stuck, widespread delays, and of course a lot of people posting comments on Facebook that they're complaining about this. However, there really is nothing. There really is nothing that that the railroad could have done any better. I don't know. And people will always complain, I guess. But this is a big wind event. Lots of power outages. I wanted to see what the latest power outages on PSEG Long Island were. see how many outages. Oh, it's down to 913, so that's pretty good. Earlier there were a lot of power outages, so that's certainly an improvement from the way it was. But this down power pole in Massapequa is not affecting any PSEG Long Island customers. It's basically railroad power and signals. So let's get to this other thing here. Let's get to Nice Bus here. Get off this whole mess of a storm that we've had between that and the storm we had recently, and then yesterday with the ice and the freezing rain. The weather has been weather's definitely been temperamental, that's for sure. But luckily here in Westbury there has not been any power loss. I think that the power system held up pretty well considering that we've had winds near hurricane force. This is something that really gets me. Nice. Now, I'm not sure if the money is coming out of Nice's budget or it's coming from somewhere else, but Nice Bus is, and I'll read the article to you. Let me look it up. Nice Bus to give free Metro cards to low-income residents. It's a Newsday article, and they get officials from United Way of Long Island gathered at Nice Bus headquarters in Garden City to unveil the Everyone Rides Nice program, which will provide free round-trip Metro cards to eligible low-income riders. So they somehow have money for this, but they're cutting service. There's something wrong with that. You know, there's something seriously wrong with that. It's ridiculous. And trust me, I'm more pissed off than I look about it. I'm just sick, so I can't really. I still got this cold I'm just battling. But this next video is going to piss you off even more. The legislature, their pay raise kicked in, the Nassau legislature, and they're getting a 90% increase in pay. It's going to go from $39,500 to $75,000 a year. It's ridiculous. You think they could have put that off? I think they could have put off purchasing this building. They purchased the building in Bethpage for one of their emergency headquarters or whatever. That was, I think, $6.4 million or something. They have money for that. But yet here we have this gap of $6.8 million, and they don't want to fill the gap. They want to throw bus riders under the bus. You know, the contempt that this legislature has, and Norma, I know I've met you, but I still think you got contempt for bus riders. Because you have money for all this other stuff, and you don't have money for buses? I mean, this is bullshit, man. The reason why NICE is here is because of you folks in Nassau County, because of you folks in the legislature, because of the county executive not wanting to properly fund its bus service. And the MTA said, we don't want to deal with this anymore. And they left. Who could blame them? And now TransDev is probably also getting pissed with you guys because you don't want to fund the fucking bus system. I think it's ridiculous. In this county where I see luxury cars all over the place, you can't fund bus service? You can't come up with a lousy $6.8 million so people don't get stranded by these cuts? Are you freaking kidding me? I'm furious. I'm still furious at Nassau County. Don't think I'm not. I'm just trying to be nice to them, you know, in hopes that maybe they'll listen instead of yelling like this. But whether I'm nice or nasty, it doesn't seem to matter. It's a nasty county. And, you know, they don't really give a shit about bus riders, you know. They act like they give a shit. But when it comes, I don't care if they're Democrat, Laura Curran, or Republican, Norma Gonzalez, they don't give a shit about us. Let them have their cars taken away and have to take the bus. It's unbelievable. And the crime is already going up. There's been an increase in car thefts. So I think I brought that up in the last one. But anyway, I'm going to read to you my alternative proposal for NICE, an alternative service reduction proposal, which will be presented to NICE when I go to the public hearing, and I hope, if you can, you go to it on this Thursday at the bus depot. It's not going to be at the legislature, because apparently the legislature doesn't even think we deserve to be there anymore to talk. No, it's going to be at the bus depot, you know, Mitchell Field, 3 o'clock and 6 p.m. Anyway, here's what I have to say here about the The N1 should no longer run to Jamaica. This is an alternative service. These are still going to be hard cuts, but I'm trying to make what we need to do is save some routes for network coverage, namely the N19, namely the N79, and the N72 to Babylon. Those things need to be saved. They carry a lot of people. They're important routes for network coverage, and getting rid of them will put thousands out of work. It will leave people stranded at the mercy of these taxis, and it's disgusting. So let's get to the proposals here. So my alternative proposal, N1 no longer runs to Jamaica. Weekday rush hours only serves to Hewlett. Otherwise, it's running from Green Acres to Elmont. Every 30 minutes in rush hours, every 60 minutes at all other times. I think that now that NICE has gotten these articulated, now it's time to reduce, when possible, at certain times to have frequency reductions, because the Arctics on the N6 and N6X, there needs to be frequency reductions because the use of Arctics will be able to handle larger passenger loads, and they should be able to handle larger passenger loads. The N6, I don't think it's flagging as much as it used to, so you can reduce the frequency and therefore have larger passenger loads and save money that way. The N15. Currently service runs every 20 minutes, I believe, on Saturdays and Sundays. I think it should be reduced to every 30 minutes. And I also think that the County Seat Drive, Old Country Road service, which right now I think only runs rush hours anyway, should just be eliminated. There's no reason for that. If people need to get the N9 to Hempstead, there's the N40 and 41, which provides regular, pretty frequent service out of Mineola, and they can just walk over. It's not very far at all. I think the N16 needs its Saturday service eliminated. It doesn't carry that many people. The N19, I think, needs to be saved Monday through Saturday. However, on Sundays, when ridership is light, I think that the N19 should not have Sunday service. Now we get to the N20G, N20H, N21 whole debacle here, which is a huge mistake. First of all, they're using more buses. I know it means it's running on time better. It's true. The on-time performance is better on that route since it was split. However, it's inefficient. It's using way too many buses. I mean, you have 4 N20H buses out of Hicksville, to and from Hicksville in the rush hours. That's way too many. It should just be two. I think the former route should be restored. All right? The current setup has way too many N20H rush hour trips that run empty, and it's wasteful by using more buses. I would have the all N20 trips, we restore the current route. Runs no more, it's one route all the way to Flushing. N20 trips bypass Roslyn Clock Tower at all times. N20L rush hour trips bypass both Roslyn Clock Tower and the Great Neck Long Island Railroad. N20 and N20L trips from Hicksville run every 30 minutes weekday rush hours and every 45 minutes at all other times weekdays, and 60 minutes on weekdays. The N21 runs rush hours only. We'll bring back the short N20 trips that begin and end at Mineola Avenue to provide even headways, between Roslyn and Flushing, the busiest part of the route. So figure 15 minutes weekday rush hours, 30 minutes at all other times. Now, a service improvement that NICE made that I think NICE needs to undo is having the N22 run every 20 minutes on Saturdays. It should be reduced to every 30 minutes. I mean, the buses are busy, but I think we can get away with every 30 minutes on the N22. That should save a couple of buses right there and save some money that could be used to, again, keeping these other routes around. N23, the service needs to be reduced to hourly on middays. Currently, the N23 runs every half an hour all day. Reduce it to hourly on middays, similar to what was done with the N27. N24, I think the East Meadow trips are ridiculous. Get rid of them. I never see anyone on them. Those trips should just begin at Roosevelt Field. N26, eliminate. It's redundant. You can take the N25, I can take the N22, N22A, N22X, or N24. There's no reason they have the N26 anymore. The N27. Now, currently NICE wants to propose having the N27 run every hour, even in rush hours. Now, the N27 rush hour trips are extremely busy. They're full. All right, they're full. Once, like southbound in the evening, they're full once they reach Greenvale, all right? I mean, full, meaning a seated load, all right? If you have it run every hour, it's going to be crush loaded, and people will probably get left, all right? Instead, I would have the N27 no longer serving Hempstead on weekdays. It will run between Roosevelt Field and Glen Cove only on weekdays, because the 30-minute rush hour service must be preserved. All right, weekday transfer options, plenty of them. All right, you have the N15, N16, and N35 to Hempstead. All right, and the N16 takes the exact route that the N27 does. However, on weekends, when the N16 is not running, I would have the N27 run to and from Hempstead Transit Center. Now, for the N35, I appreciate them saving the route to Westbury, but I think it does need to be reduced at times. I think N35 needs to be reduced to hourly after 8 p.m. on weekdays to Westbury. Trips would probably end at Roosevelt Field or Hempstead Transit Center, depending on the time. I think that hourly service after 8 p.m. on weekdays to Westbury. All right? And hourly service all day on Saturday. So on Saturday, every other trip would end at Roosevelt Field. N36 doesn't carry many people. I would eliminate that. N47 also doesn't carry many people. Eliminate that. N48 Saturday service should be eliminated. Have the N49 run every 40 minutes. This was similar to the April 8th cut that was undone. The April 8th 2012 cut that was undone by NICE, but I think that cut needs to be reinstated. N51 eliminated. It just doesn't carry enough people. Oh, and the N45 also. N45 is an important route. It needs to be saved. However, I think it should run only National Community College, school days only. A lot of students take that, but when school isn't in session, you could do away with it. But you need the N45, because you get rid of that on school days. It helps out the N43 along Uniondale Avenue. Without it, the N43 is going to be crush loaded. People are going to get left. All right. The N54, I would have that run rush hours only. And on middays, have the N55, and Saturdays, have the N55 run every 40 minutes. All right? The N57, eliminate that. Not if people take it. It's not that far. The N58 is not that far away. The N70 should no longer go to Newsday. Have it end at SUNY Farmingdale. All right? However, I think N72 service to Babylon needs to be preserved. And in fact, I would have it run to Babylon on Sundays as well. However, it would be hourly to Babylon all times. Currently, the N72 runs every half an hour to Babylon in the rush hour. Only hourly. That's all that's needed. There would be short turns, but instead of having NICE's idea of having the short turns end at SUNY Farmingdale is a terrible idea. I think it needs to run down Route 110, at least end at by the Walmart there at Route 110. So you have the short turns ending, because there are a lot of people that take it from there. So that would be a good idea, I think. Now, as far as the N78, N79 goes, N78 I would eliminate. The N79 would be hourly at all times, except maybe 40 minutes rush hours. I mean, you could have an extra trip in there, maybe start at like Medano Hill or something like that. They don't all have to go to South Huntington Mall, Woolworth Mall. However, the N79 is extremely important because there are a lot of people that take that route, especially in rush hour. And like I said before, that is one of the worst eliminations because there is no alternative. Those people are going to be left completely stranded, and that is a crime, in my opinion. That is a crime. You have people that work at the Fairway in Plainview that take that bus. You have people that work in the industrial areas on Sunnyside that take that bus. You have people that work at the hospital there in Plainview that take that bus. All these people are going to be left stranded. How could you possibly do that? That is crazy. And the change that I agree with NICE, finally they agreed, with me, and I suggested this in the beginning, combining the N80 and 81 into a new route. It's going to run hourly with smaller vehicles. I think that's a good idea. Elmont Flexi service reduced to hourly. That's also an existing thing. That I also agree with as well. As far as the eliminations of the Hicksville-Wantor shuttle, Rockville Center shuttle, Freeport shuttle, yeah, I agree with them because they hardly carry anyone. It's unfortunate. I've taken the Hicksville-Wantor shuttle numerous times, and you're lucky if you have more than one or two people on the bus. In the beginning, it looked like there were a few more, but it's just not carrying, and we can't afford to run it. It's unfortunate, but if you have to make cuts, these are the cuts you should be making, because people cannot be left stranded with no alternative. And that's what cutting the N79 does. It leaves people stranded with no alternative. And that's terrible. That's a crime. In my opinion, that's a crime. These taxi bastards are just waiting in the wings. I'm sorry, but these taxi guys, and I think one of our friends not a friend, he's not a friend, he's an enemy, who keeps harassing people on here. He knows who he is, and he's probably going to start harassing some more, because I shouldn't even be bringing him up. I think he's a cab driver. Because he has the same kind of foul mouth, potty mouth that a cab driver would have. And these cab drivers are out there. They're crooks, they're criminals. I despise taxis. All right, I'm going to make it clear. I despise taxis. I will never, ever take one, because I do despise them. They are crooks. They are crooks, plain and simple. And they hang out there by Hempstead, by the bus terminal. Nothing's done about it. I brought this up with Mr. Sense. He said something would be done about it. Literally, my bus today, we had to stop very short because a taxi just darted in front of us right there at the Hempstead Transit Center. And the condition of the roads there, that's a whole nother subject. After the snow we had on Thursday, the roads were horrible. They never put any salt down. They never put any sand down. And everything was a sheet of ice in the morning. It was terrible. Thank you, Ed Mangano. Apparently, we can't afford to salt our roads either and put sand down, so people don't have to drive on ice and drive on literally, it was just like a third world country. This whole county was like a third world country. And this man, Ed Mangano, he is the scum of the earth. That's all I got to say. He is the scum of the freaking earth. This guy, he has screwed us over so much. He screwed the police, he screwed the bus, he screwed and why aren't people who taking the bus, this is something that other people have told me, why aren't people who are taking the bus outraged over these cuts? Where are the protests? There are no protests. And this is the last subject I'm going to bring up, and I know it's a little off topic, but I have to bring it up. These protests going on over the president's immigration plan. It's off topic, but I have to speak about it because I look at the news and I see these people, and the groups of people protesting are getting smaller. All right, and they're protesting. Meanwhile, if you look at the face of these people, they're all freaking yuppies. They're white yuppies protesting, saying that I have to be tolerant. Excuse me. All right, I'm supposed to tolerate guys passed out drunk in my town. I'm supposed to tolerate guys with droopy pants and gang signs in my town. I'm supposed to tolerate all these problems being brought to my town when you don't even deal with them. I just told someone off a little while ago, he lived in Syosset. He was saying how important the illegals were. You live in Syosset, for goodness sake. You're not dealing with the illegals. This is what pisses me off. I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to talk about it anymore, but it annoys me. These freaking protesters out there, these freaking yuppie protesters out there who live in their homogenous little lily-white towns. Meanwhile, it's you say you care about refugees and you care about immigrants. Let me tell you about the church, the Catholic Church, the Diocese of Rockville Center. The church is bringing a lot of these illegals here. All right? I don't see any of them going to Rockville Center. No. That's where the church is based. Why don't you take some of these refugees in? Why don't you take some of these illegals in? No. Just put them in Westbury. Just put them in Hempstead. Just put them in any other non-white town. They're racists. And they throw the race word around, but they're racist because it's so racist to put the burden of the illegal immigration, the crime, the debt, the declining quality of life, to put that on someone else. All right? Instead of taking them in yourself and dealing with, because you know that they're going to bring crime. You know they're going to do all that. I don't know how much Soros paid these people off, but I'm sorry, I just had to bring that up for a second, because that just annoys the hell out of me. These people don't deal with half of what I deal with. Now there's a chance that they're getting deported. There's a chance that towns like mine can improve. All right, I'm sorry, I don't work on Wall Street. I have a disability. I can't be rich like you. I shouldn't have to deal with the problems that the illegals bring. All right? These very same people are trying to, they're the same kind of people that keep housing for the mentally ill out. They're the biggest freaking hypocrites around, and they have to be called out. It just pisses me off, and I'm sorry. I don't want to bring this up too much. I really don't. And that's it. I think I talked about it for 4 or 5 minutes. That's enough. But where are the people protesting for bus riders? There's no one out there protesting for bus riders. There's no one out there protesting over this. Why aren't the people who take Nice Bus protesting about this? Why aren't they mobilizing and doing something? Instead, they just sit there and take it. I don't understand why we can't get together and do something about this. This county is literally going to screw our lives up with these cuts, right? Whether it's MTA or Transdev, the situation and the problems are the fault of this county. And the county executive and the legislature, they should have their cars taken away. They should be ashamed of themselves. Each and every member of the legislature, Democrat or Republican, you are not doing enough for us right now. All right? And I will remember in November. And I think everybody who takes the bus should remember in November what's going on. Because this is a travesty. And these cuts happen, it's going to lead to more cuts. Because what happens is, once you cut that much service and you close the Rockville Center Depot, that's going to decrease the funding and decrease the ridership and lead to a death spiral. And that will lead to more cuts. Until there's no bus system at all. But apparently that's what Mangano wants. That's what the legislature wants. If you can't afford to drive and you can't afford to take a taxi, you're not welcome in Nassau County. That's the message they're sending. But I can tell you this Long Islander is not going away so easily. And I think people need to stand up and fight. And I don't know why there cannot be a protest for bus riders and why people in the streets can't protest about this. This is something to protest about. And you want to talk discrimination, why don't we talk about discrimination against the mentally ill? How come mentally ill people don't have the same rights as everybody else? Like to live in a decent neighborhood. No, we're kept out of all the decent neighborhoods. Most of them, at least. You know, I'm sick of the dichotomy, but I'm not going to... See, I'm losing my voice, so I gotta stop. But I'm not going to, you know, get into these other issues as much. But the bus thing is all part of it. And people need to stand up and fight and do something about this shit. Because this shit is because of Nassau County. All right? Nassau County needs to pay up. And it's too bad that we don't have somebody in the governor's mansion who could tell Nassau County, you know what? If you don't want to fund bus service, I will throw your asses in jail. Because if I was a governor, that's what I would do right now. Because providing bus service, this county thinks it is discretionary funding. No, it should be mandatory funding. People depend on these buses to get to work, get to school, get to doctor's appointments, and you want to take them away. And meanwhile, you bastard just voted yourself a pay raise. Unbelievable. Nasty county. Anyway, that's it. And hopefully you show up at the meeting. Let's stop these cuts. One way or another, we got to stop these cuts. And ultimately get MTA back. Because this nice thing has been a failure, but it's not Transdev's fault. It's Nassau County's fault. As much as I hate Transdev, it's Nassau County's fault. If Nassau County just paid the MTA, we would be sitting here with Long Island bus service, and we'd be in a much better place right now. Anyway, that's it.